Hello, my name is Kirioth, and this is another Community Spotlight. It's back, it's all sorted, let's just go straight into it. Right off the bat, we have some really nice AdMech from Gene Stealer, excellent name. It honestly took me a moment. I was like, is that Jean or Jean? But then I thought, well, the last name is Stealer, so chances are I'm just a bit slow. That's just what happens. Anyway, models. Firstly, such a nice, smooth, consistent white on these. As they say, they chose white coats since they are basically nerds wearing lab coats, marching to war in the 41st millennium. Also, just to prove I can paint one of the most difficult colours. You have my respect and a fair bit of jealousy, because I really struggle to get like properly creamy, consistent whites. It's quite easy to get like an uneven finish with white. It's one of the more tricky colours to pull off like in bulk. For me, one of the things that's always put me off about just the idea of starting a White Scars army, even though I love the concept of a White Scars army, I am not ever going to attempt to paint that much white, because that would be a literal disaster for me. Having an army this big with that kind of consistency across all the models is genuinely really impressive. And there's a lot of really nice touches outside of the fact that there is some very nice white. For a start, I love the blue glow on the weapons. That's been done really well. That again is very nice and consistent across all of these. And something that's been done with the metallic parts of these AdMech that I really like is the different metallic colours used. So you have got your base kind of, I'm assuming lead belcher, but there could well be a bit of runefang and stuff over the top. You've got your kind of gunmetal base for the armour of these guys. But there are sections across the backpacks, across the helmets, on the guns, that have been highlighted different colours. You have this mix of silver, like coppery bronze and gold. And it actually does, for me, a lot to break up what could be a lot of just silver. It's one of those things where, for some armies, especially things like, say, Iron Warriors, it's kind of easy to end up with, I know there's the black and the yellow chevrons, and you do have a bit of gold in there. It's quite easy for things to look like a sea of metallic grey if you're not careful, even if you have got kind of bolder other colours like red and white in there. By mixing it up and having a nice mix of that kind of coppery bronze and the gold, and having it be slightly different in some places, it does a lot to just bring out more of the detail and just make them just that bit more interesting to look at. It adds a bit of variety, a little bit of extra flavour to the models that I really like. But yeah, this is a really good example of a really nice, consistent, quality paint job where there is, there's very obviously every model has been given the same care and attention in this army, and it shows a lot. I also really like the way that the domes have been done on the Castellan robots. That looks to me like they've been altered. I'd love to know what you actually did there, because it looks to me like the bit that's got like the weird eye holes, which I've never really liked on that model. It looks like that's been replaced by just a dome. But I'm curious as to where the dome is from, whether that is something that has just been filed down or filled in, or whether that's from something else. Because I actually really like that. I think it works genuinely a bit better. Just having that painted, otherwise featureless dome looks a little more, I don't know, it just looks a bit better than having the eye holes to me. Okay, next up we have Brian with a slightly converted Cypher and a really nicely converted Dark Angel's Master, and I really like both of these. The Cypher is a perfect example of small changes that make a big difference to a model. Cypher has a very distinct pose, with the one gun held aloft and the other hand looking as though it's reaching for the other, but not actually holding it. It's something that you kind of get ingrained after a while. You know what Cypher looks like, and he looks like that. I like this change because it changes the intent of the model a little bit. It kind of advances the story, if that makes sense. It just kind of shifts it a little bit. It kind of shifts the intent slightly, which it's a really good example of how you don't actually have to go all in on doing like a massive conversion on something to make it look a little bit different. You can just do small changes, and they do add up to more than just that one little alteration. If you look at Cypher from the side, he has a very kind of distinct silhouette, and that's changed just that little bit by having the pistol in his other hand. And it does add something to the model, I think. It does change it in quite a nice way. Now, in terms of doing something a bit bigger, in terms of like doing a full conversion, then the Dark Angel's Master that he has is a really good example of taking something meant for one army and just switching it up nicely to make it fit with something else. I, of course, approve of the use of Custodes for other forces, given that that's what my Emperor's Children Terminators are made out of, and so are the Chosen, in fact. The fact that you can get such like a nice wide spread out of those is one of the reasons I like them so much. And using Trajan Valorous for this has worked really, really well. You can see that the sword is like the classic, iconic Dark Angel's Power Sword, which looks really good. I'd love to know whether the lion's head is sculpted, or if not, where that's from, because that's a really nice touch that does a lot to change the kind of base of the model in a really nice way. The addition of the little sensor that you get from the Deathwing and the Dark Angel's icon hanging down the front, it all adds up to what is at its core a Custodes model that actually properly looks like it fits next to Cypher and would completely fit in a Dark Angel's force. It's really nicely done. I have to say, I really like the change that have been made to that, because it has changed its suitability completely from the force that it was made to be in to something considerably different. But the extra ornamentation and stuff on the Custodes, although it is quite ostentatious compared to other models, especially in the context of using it as a significant authority figure, I think it just adds to it. It doesn't really distract from what it's supposed to be. It just makes that character really look like they are something that extra bit special compared to everyone else, which, I mean, in a context like this, works really, really well. Okay, so next up from Jamie, we have a like in progress conversion, which I really, really like this. It's crazy good. So this is Master of the Ravenwing Sammael converted to suit his Wolfen-themed Thunderwolf army. That by itself sounds like a pretty tall order, but the amount of work and really, really quite good green stuff sculpting that's gone into this is something else. So the story behind this is that when the Wolfen Great Company went into the Eye of Terror to hunt down what remained of the Thousand Suns, this Wolf Lord took his Thunderwolf in with him, and the 10,000 years of exposure mutated the Thunderwolf to the point where it could fly on warp-powered winds and vomit plasma cannon rounds from its muzzle so that it could follow the same rules as Sammael on his jet bike. I love the justification of it. I would absolutely just be like, that's Sammael, you've got it, fine, awesome. That much work, you do what you like. But the justification, I really like that. So the parts used, we have a nice list of parts, which I really like when you guys do this. So the parts used are the old Archaon model, so the Wolf Body and Wolf Lord legs are from that. A Fantasy Chaos Chariot has supplied the Adamantine Mantle, difficult to say. Deathwing Terminator kit has supplied the Wolf Lord chestplate and head. The Space Wolf Grey Hunter kit has provided the arms and the waist. The Bloodletter kit has provided the Raven Sword. The Juggernaut Knights kit has given the Skull on Chain. Canis Wolfborn has been used for the backpack, and there's a Thunderwolf head from the Thunderwolf kit, obviously. Plus, jet bike, flying base, and, this is a direct quote, shitload of green stuff. I think, yeah, the shitload of green stuff, you are not wrong, but it's nicely used green stuff. So the concept was to paint the wolf black and do fire effects for the hair and offset the orange of the flames with neon blue glowing from the open maw of the wolf. And the whole thing with the Wolf Lord was to paint the robes black too, then keep the armour 30k grey and paint the mantle red. But I'm not so sure now if that would work. Personally, I would say not to do the mantle red, but only because it might not work with the fire effects and the orange of the flames. Red and orange is a bit of a weird combination unless they're blended from one to the other. It can be a little bit jarring, so for me, anyway. So, I don't know. I'm not sure what what would work for the mantle, to be fair? I'm not sure what. The only thing that, and you may well just absolutely hate me for saying this, but if the cloak was also fur, that could work. It's pretty Space Wolfy having a fur cloak, but that does mean even more green stuff work, which you might not want to do anymore. And I would totally understand if you decided, no, go away, I hate that idea. I would not hold that against you. But yeah, this is really, really nice. It looks really good. It looks so good. The amount of work and effort that has gone into the green stuff alone is something else. And all the various parts, I feel like, have combined really, really well. Obviously, you can see clearly where stuff has been altered at the moment because it's still in progress and as of yet isn't painted. But to be honest, for the most part, it is blended so nicely. The use of the green stuff to meld together the different parts of the chest and the waist to create creating the muscle of the wolf. I think you'd be genuinely kind of hard pressed once this is painted. I think you'd be hard pressed to really find anything that looks off about this. And to be honest, the fact that it started out as a horse and is now a wolf, it's not exactly massively obvious that it started out as a horse. The use of green stuff over the hooves to turn them into paws has actually worked really well because of the pose of it. The fact that they used to be hooves, it doesn't really look like they used to be hooves to me anymore. It just looks like they are paws that are flung back. I mean, if you watch a dog run, especially if you watch a dog run in slow motion, we've all done it, don't lie, their feet do properly go back. My dog, my ridiculous lurcher, when she sprints, if you pause it at the right point, if you're taking a video of her, her front paws are like borderline touching the inside of her legs. She goes mental when she runs, and it fits. It works well here. It's a very good use of green stuff to pad out and alter the shape of that original creature into something else. And the blending of the head onto that, using green stuff again to put a load of fur on, has worked really, really well. I have to say, I really like that. That is one of the most ambitious conversions, and I just generally conversions and ideas I've seen for ages. Turning an old fantasy model with the use of various parts from 8 different kits into a wolfen themed Sammael is crazy, but it's worked so well. It looks so good. I really can't wait to see what you do with this when it's painted. I bet it's going to look even better than it does currently. God, it's so good. Okay, next up we have a entry for the Grimdark Cards challenge over on Instagram, which I believe finished months and months ago, but this looks really, really cool. So this is from Noel? I'm sorry if I get your name wrong. But if you go over to Instagram and follow @TorchMiniatures, you will find them. So yeah, this is a Tech-Priestess, and this ticks all the boxes for me as to what I love seeing about AdMech is when people make properly creepy tech priests and servitors and stuff. It's something about the AdMech that isn't underserved because plenty of people are doing it, but I still love seeing it every time. And you can clearly see the inspiration behind it with the Grimdark Cards thing in the back there. You can see what it's based off. To me, that looks like a pretty damn good interpretation of that. It's really close to what you see on the cards. It's been done really well. There's a nice join between the top and bottom. Excellent use of the various cablings and stuff that you get with. I think some of that is from Call. Some of it is from. Yeah, it looks like some of it's from Call. Some of it is from the Tech Priest kit, the Tech Priest Dominus. Yeah, that's really, really nicely done. It captures a huge amount of the kind of the soul of the original. It works really well as a mini as well. It looks properly creepy, properly AdMech, and like something that you would not, I was going to say meet in a dark alley, like something you would just not want to meet. It's actually pretty disturbing in some ways. It looks too long. It looks too long and like it shouldn't be able to move, but it does, which is not an insult. That's exactly how I would want something like this to look. Just uncanny. Uncanny and a bit off is, to me, the perfect thing for a tech priest. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that a lot. Okay, and finally we have some big projects from Mike, and I thought this would be a really nice way to end this episode, because the dedication and commitment required to paint a Manta is something that I think we can all aspire to. I know that my patience and dedication would most likely fall somewhat flat. Obviously, talent-wise as well, it would fall flat too, but, oh my god, how you do this, I don't know. So, the painting of the actual Manta is complete. There is just 48 Fire Warriors, 2 Pilots, 1 Ethereal, 2 Devilfish, 2 Hammerheads, and 8 Crisis Suits left to paint and put inside it. That list alone is insane to me. The fact that you can fit all of that inside it is ludicrous. It's such a massive model. It's one of those things whereby I love it, but it's just, there are some models that Forge World do that I look at and I'm like, God, you're mental. You made this. Someone sat down and went, I'm going to make the Manta. And everyone else went, nice. It's one of those for me. So yeah, oh my god, it's so clean as well. It's so cleanly done. Like the different shading on the ramp, the camo on the outside, the glow on the engines. It's so pristine and nicely painted across every single bit of it. Just the patience blows me away. It honestly does. I wouldn't even know where to get started on something of that size. I struggle enough knowing where to get started on normal tanks, but a Manta it's another thing entirely. As if that wasn't enough though, there is also, I think it's the Taunar Supremacy suit, which I love as a model. It's properly chunky. It's a properly chunky boy, this thing. And again, exactly the same thing, like, really nicely done. It's, again, a pretty chunky, big model. A bit more approachable, I feel, than a Manta, personally. But, yeah, just the overall standard for it is really, really nice. It does help that it is one of my favourite Tau models ever. To be honest, if you could field just an army of those, and they were a lot cheaper, I would love to have a few, but I don't know. There's just something about it that I think a lot of the Tau stuff doesn't do it for me. That does. That really does. It fulfills all of my giant mech needs, this thing. Giant guns. Everything you could ask for. Yeah, it's really nicely painted. Okay, so that is it for this episode of the Community Spotlight. I hope you have found some motivation, some inspiration, some ideas going into the weekend, and this can kind of kick off your weekend hobbying nicely with either a case of, I want to do that, that's inspired me to do something else, or I would at some point like to be able to paint a Manta. That would be quality. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much to those who were featured this week. There will be another Community Spotlight next week, and if you would like to send your stuff in to be featured on the Community Spotlight, then send it to kiriothcommunity@gmail.com. The way this is done now is slightly different. You guys send your stuff. I have a small, just a few volunteers who are going through the account for me due to some issues that we've had in the past with it, and they are sending across stuff for me to make the videos on. So I am a step removed, but they know the drill. They have watched the thing, they watch the channel, they know what this is all about, what it's for, and they know the commitment to getting pretty much essentially everything you guys send me I would like to put in a video at some point, and they know that. So yeah, while I am that one step removed, it's already working out better, it's brought the motivation back, it's brought the positivity back, and that hopefully means I can just spread all of that onto you like some sort of... No, I was going to make a horrendous analogy then that was absolutely weird, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click all the things, and as always, there's an affiliate link in the description down below for Element Games, and if you click that, then I get a little something for sending you that way. You save between 50 and 25% off all the stuff that you buy in terms of paint, 40k, Age of Sigmar, Bolt Action, X-Wing, Warhammer Hordes. They've got literally everything. And at the end of the month, 10% of anything spent through that link will go to charity. So, nice way to support the channel. No extra effort on your part. You can do that if you would like. If not, totally up to you. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo.